All right, you guys are about to watch a clip from an episode of Abandoned Hope that I did for Pessimist Productions patrons a few days ago, where I make fun of the horrible Mike Huckabee and call out his party's regressive voting policies. I think most of you are going to like it, and for those of you who don't like it, I'm sure you'll be very nicely triggered. And remember to join our Patreon in the links below to get more great content. But before we get into it, this public version of the clip is sponsored by the YouTube channel Mustard Bus. They've been making regular content for 5 years, and it's really pretty damn good, with a lot of different ongoing series, my favorite of which is Drive-In, a show where they really dredge the depths of cinema to find some of the lowest quality schlock on the market for them to rip on. They've got gaming content, they've got cooking content, they've got art content, they've even got literary content, sort of. It's a shame that with these guys churning out regular content for the past 5 years, they still have under 400 subs. So show them some love, correct this injustice of the universe, go to their channel, check out what they've got to offer, and very seriously consider subscribing on the spot if you like what you see. I recommend, once again, that Drive-In show. I think it's some really funny stuff gets showcased on there. Remember that supporting my sponsors helps us support this channel, and without further ado, here's the video that you clicked on.
Often amused, but I am never amazed at how easily offended the left is about, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah, the perpetually offended left. Like, for instance, remember when the left freaked out because they changed the name of Mr. Potato Head, even though they didn't even really change his name? Stupid left. Remember when the left freaked out because the company that prints Dr. Seuss books decided to not print a few more of the titles anymore? Left. So easily triggered. Remember when the left got triggered just because there was some gay satanic twerking in a fantasy music video? Left. Remember when the left got triggered because that football player took a knee during the national anthem? The easily offended, easily triggered snowflake left. Oh wait, that was us in all instances, wasn't it? Oops. Maybe we're the perpetually offended ones now that I think about it.
I mean, they're quite good at taking every issue and turning it into a reason for yelling a primal scream of racism. Recently, the state of Georgia passed some election reforms. I mean, they needed to in light of the disaster of the train wreck of the 2020 election process there.
Yeah, the disaster of a train wreck. What was the disaster about it again? Oh, yeah, you lost. Oh, they needed to pass some new election laws because we lost that election, you guys. Like, come on. Like, you saw how that election went. Like, we lost it. That's not good. We need to, like, pass some laws to help us, like, win it in the future, you know? We just needed to rig democracy a little. And you see the left, they freaking out. All we're trying to do is make it harder for people to vote. And the left is like saying that we shouldn't do that. Bunch of easily triggered morons.
Governor Brian Kemp, who, by the way, is on our show tonight, and the legislature in Georgia, they worked really hard to make it easier to vote, but harder to cheat.
Oh.
Throughout the process.
Is that how you do? Oh, it's easier to vote, but harder to cheat. No, it's just harder to vote. That's what the Georgia law did. Don't let this lying sucker lie to you. It doesn't. The law in Georgia does not make it easier to vote, but harder to cheat. It just makes it harder to vote. That's all the it does. Don't let them lie to you.
The bill. The governor and the legislators were in touch with citizens across the state, as well as with Georgia-based corporations like Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines. And, you know, everybody seemed to agree that it would be good to expand voting opportunities.
Yeah, everyone would agree to that. Unfortunately, it's not what the law you're talking about does, you liar. I like how Republicans just like outright just say the opposite of what's true and just everyone just believe, like, if you're a Republican, this is basically, you just get your marching orders from these talking heads like this. You know, it actually expands voting rights. Like, no, it doesn't. How does it do that? Well, you see, make sure you can't cheat so it actually expands voting rights. Okay, in what way does it do that? Well, it actually expands voting rights. Like, no, it doesn't. No, it fucking goddamn doesn't. Special ballots will be created for nonpartisan elections. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Ballots must be printed in black and white ink on security paper. Okay. A cutoff date of 11 days before a primary general election and runoff for mail-in ballot applications. So, okay, so you're limiting the color ink that can be used. You're limiting the paper that can be used. You're limiting the time window more drastically than before. How does that make it easier for anyone to vote? That makes it harder. Like, the more bullshit obstacles you put in between a person and their ability to vote, that does not make it easier for them to vote. A deadline for the issuance of absentee ballots at least 25 days before a federal primary, general election, or special election, or 22 days before a municipal general election or primary. Once again, restricting the time in which a person can get their ballot in order. So, once again, restricting the vote. A Georgia state driver's license number, ID card number, date of birth, and the last 4 digits of a social security number or another approved form of identification must be printed on the outside of an absentee ballot. So now, anybody who does, listen to this, anybody who wants to vote now, if you're in Georgia and you say, I want to go vote in this election, you now have to have a state ID of some kind. And you know who the most likely demographic of people to not have a state ID are? It ain't white people. I'll give you that hint. Conditions for rejecting absentee ballots if certain requirements are not met. So just more requirements. So basically, what this law does is in every instance across the board, what it does is it limits how and when you can vote compared to what existed before. So it closes the time window and it makes you have to jump through more hoops to do it. So how does that make it easier for anyone to vote? What provision did I just say in that outline of bullet points? Which one of those provisions makes it easier to vote? None of them. Every single one of those things makes it harder to vote. Every single one of those things. So let's not misrepresent the fucking law we're talking about here. We're talking about a law that puts obstacles in between you, the voter, and your fucking vote being tabulated. It creates a bunch of conditions whereby your ballot can be refused or dismissed or not counted. That's all it fucking does. That's 100% of what the fuck it does.
But they would have to require some form of ID to ensure that votes were cast by legally qualified Georgia voters. But after the bill passed and President Biden called it a resurrection of Jim.
Wait. Oh, wow, it sounds so reasonable. Oh, it sounds so reasonable. So the Heritage Foundation, conservative think tank, did a comprehensive goddamn study, okay? Comprehensive, years-long study on the issue of voter fraud, because it's been a major talking point for Republicans for quite some time now. A sampling of recent election fraud cases from across the United States. The Heritage Foundation Election Fraud Database presents a sampling of recent proven instances of election fraud from across the country. Each and every one of the cases in this database represents an instance in which a public official, usually a prosecutor, thought it serious enough to act upon it, and each and every one ended a finding that the individual had engaged in wrongdoing in connection with an election hoping to affect its outcome, or that the results of an election were sufficiently in question and had to be overturned. This database is not an exhaustive or comprehensive list. This database is intended to demonstrate the vulnerabilities in the election system and the many ways in which fraud is committed. So basically, translation, this is every instance of voter fraud that we, the Heritage Foundation, have actually been able to prove. They have found 1,322 proven instances of voter fraud. 1,322 fucking instances. Throughout the entire United States, over multiple election cycles. All right? So across the fucking board, over many fucking years, let's see. How many fucking elections is this over the course of? It goes back to 1982. So, from 1982 through 2021, the Heritage Foundation across the entirety of the United States in different kind of fucking elections has only been able to find 1,322 proven instances of voter fraud in the entire god fucking country. And the Republicans, like fucking this miserable, cretinous fucking doofus above me, are trying to tell you that this is some kind of disaster. Most counties in America could not have been fucking flipped on the strength of 1,000 fucking votes. Most counties in America in one election could not be flipped on that. And yet, we need to pass draconian voter restriction laws in order to prevent voter fraud when even the most conservative fucking think tank on the face of the fucking earth can barely find even a sliver of evidence that voter fraud is anything to fucking worry about. It is a fraction of 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 a fucking percent of fucking voters that engage in some kind of fucking fraud. So the idea that this is rampant or that this is even a serious problem is absurd and ridiculous and unfounded. This is an ideological conviction from the right. This is not a reasonable solution to a pragmatic problem or a pragmatic solution to a real problem. This is an ideological solution to a different problem. The problem that Republicans claim they have is, oh no, people who aren't eligible to vote are voting. People are voting illegally. People are voting fraudulently. That's the problem they claim is going on. But that problem isn't really happening. The problem that's really happening is people who aren't Republicans are voting. We're losing elections. How do we win elections? Maybe if we put obstacles in between the people that vote Democrat and the voting booth, then we can stop them. But we can't just do that. We can't say that's what we're doing because everyone's going to just be like, oh, shit. So instead they make up this bullshit. Instead they make up this voter fraud lie. And they go, oh, voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud. There's no fucking voter fraud problem in this country. It's bullshit, and it's bad for you.
Crow laws, something that the Washington Post said wasn't true, not even close, and that's amazing that they even admitted that. Those very same corporate executives went all squishy. The CEO of Delta Airlines, which is the airline I fly on almost every week, said the bill didn't reflect Delta's values, but he never identified which values were not being reflected. The CEO of...
Maybe the value not being reflected is democracy or racial equality or something like that. I don't know. Like when you pass a law that's clearly designed to keep black and brown people out of the fucking voting booth, yeah, it reflects kind of badly. Gotta say, a little bit.
Coca-Cola also complained, but likewise.
I love the fucking conservative counter-argument to that, what I just said, by the way. Because you know what they'll say? What are you saying, that black people are too stupid to get an ID? Is that what you're saying? Huh? Try to turn it around with that bullshit? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, statistically speaking, less black people and brown people have IDs than white people. And they're also more likely to vote Democrat. So it's a pretty easy... If you just look at the facts on the ground. Hey, look, Not as many black people have state-issued IDs. We don't want black people to vote because they don't vote for us. Maybe if we say you have to have a state-issued ID, that'll stop some of them from voting. It's as simple as that. It's just as simple as looking at actual facts. It is a fact that black people in Georgia are less likely than white people in Georgia to have a state-issued ID. That's just a fact. Why they don't have it, I'm sure there's a plethora of reasons why that's the case. Probably most of them stemming from poverty, but I don't know for sure. But I'm sure there's reasons. But those reasons don't even matter. Those reasons are totally irrelevant. The only thing that is relevant is that that's a fact. And the GOP knows exactly what it's doing when it passes these ID laws, okay? What it's doing is it's trying to get some of those people who don't have IDs, it's trying to keep them out of the voting booth. And it's trying to keep them out of the voting booth because it knows that those people are likely to vote for Democrats. Simple as that. If those people were likely to vote for Republicans, the Republicans would say that it was fascism to say that a person had to have an ID. If it was Republican voters that were less likely to have a state-issued ID, then all these Republican politicians would basically be saying that it was some sort of authoritarian, draconian 1984 nightmare to expect a citizen to produce an ID just to vote. But that's not the case, and so they have the opposite rhetoric. It's just silly, and it's fucking transparent. And anyone who acts like they don't see it is fucking blowing smoke up your ass, and probably their own.
Couldn't name one specific problem with the law.
Oh, well they couldn't? Well, I just fucking did. How about that? How about the problem I just outlined with the law, you cocksucker? Why don't you go suck some more fucking cock, you cocksucker? Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't know. It'd be a sad cock indeed that could get hard for this fucking maw.
A lot of people don't know this. Georgia expanded the number of days that one can vote early, and they made provisions to accommodate even Sunday voting. It did prohibit candidates or political parties.
Sunday voting. Wow. Wow.
From passing out food or beverages to people who were standing in voting lines.
We didn't even cover that one. Why not, though? So wait, why not? Because you know what? This is another fucking racist bullshit, because it's the black fucking districts where they have the longest voting lines because they have the least infrastructure to support the actual ballots and stuff. So they have to wait whereas I went and waited in a line for 20 minutes, a person in a fucking predominantly black area might show up and have to wait 6 hours. So a law that says that you cannot bring them food or water basically just is trying to break their spirit and get them out of the line when they're like, oh, I can't wait in this line for 6 hours. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I got to get out of here. It's just not worth it. How is that not? I mean, why not? What's the actual? Let's see if he offers an actual justification for why.
But it completely allowed for people to be given water or other items by the election officials.
Who don't have to do it. What? So wait, it allows for the election officials to give them water or other items. But will they be? Does it fucking mandate that they be provided that? There is no fucking basis for saying that someone cannot bring another person water when they're fucking thirsty, when they're waiting in a line. There's no other line on earth that has that fucking rule. While you're waiting in line at Disney World, you can fucking drink water or eat food in the fucking line. While you're waiting for line at the DMV, you're allowed to fucking drink water while you're waiting in that fucking line. Okay? There's no other fucking line on earth that I can fucking think of where no one's allowed to bring you fucking food or water if you need it. So why should the election line be that way? Why? Because you're trying to break people's spirits. Because you're trying to get people to be like, fuck, I'm too hungry or too thirsty to wait in this line anymore. And no one's allowed to bring me anything, so I guess I just have to go.
Now, you know what? It makes sense not to let political candidates give out beverages and food.
We're not talking about political candidates giving out beverages and food, okay? And even if we were, who cares? If you're going to vote for fucking Andrew Yang because he brought you a sandwich, oh well. The other candidate could equally go out and pass out sandwiches. There's no unfairness there.
Which sure would seem to kind of violate the law of giving something a value for a vote.
Yeah. Oh, man. Fucking Hillary Clinton came here and brought me a fucking Subway sandwich. You know, I wasn't going to vote for the but this meatball sub was pretty good, so ka-chink, Hillary it is. Like, what? No one is going to be bribed into voting for a particular candidate because they got some water in the line. What a stupid argument.
Heck, I might have got elected to more stuff if I'd handed out all sorts of things at the
Well, maybe you should have then, you dumb shit.
voting line. Major League Baseball was supposed to play the 2021 All-Star Game in Atlanta, but the baseball commissioner was so upset at Georgia that he arbitrarily moved the game from Atlanta to Denver. The irony, as pointed out by many, was that in fighting a phony charge of racism, he actually moved the game from one of the blackest cities in America to one of the whitest. Figure. But the commissioner...
All right, bro. Good one. You really nailed it.
seems not to be too offended by Georgia, since he's still keeping his own personal membership at the Augusta National Golf Club, which, of course, is in Georgia.
Oh.
The outrage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a hypocrite. Oh, hypocrisy. Oh, everything we're... If you can prove that your opponent is in any way, by any interpretation, hypocritical, then you win. You won. You won at that point.
For companies like Coca-Cola, which is what I call them now.
Let's see if anyone laughs. Couple people. 3 or 4 people. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Oh my God.
Coca-Cola.
Uh-huh.
Delta.
Oh,
Nike.
yeah, again. Once more. Yeah, boom. Encore. More Coca-Cola. More Coca-Cola.
In Major League Baseball is that they do a growing share of their business with communist China, which means they'd rather link up with and be part.
So does the U.S. government. By the way, communist China, I mean, China produced more billionaires last year than we did. They're not really communist at this point, really. I mean, like, we're still going to know. I know they're still technically the Chinese Communist Party, but, like, I don't know, calling China communist at this point seems pretty silly. They're capitalist as
partners with the Chinese communists than with the hardworking people of Georgia. The Chinese are slaughtering Uyghur Muslims, using children for slave labor, cheating on trade. And
oh, man, unlike us, right? We don't slaughter anybody. Afghanistan, Iraq. Oh, shit. Well, at least we don't rely on child slave labor. Chocolate industry, diamond industry, clothing industry. Shut up. You're such a disingenuous cocksucker.
And intellectual property, and imprisoning people for even trying to speak out, much less vote on issues. I tweeted out.
You mean like the law that you're defending? The communist China won't even let people vote. Kind of like what we're trying to do in Georgia. We got a lot in common with them, to be honest with you.
Out last week, and this is what I said. I've decided to identify as Chinese. Coke will like me, Delta will agree with my values, and I'll probably get free shoes from Nike and tickets to Major League Baseball games. Ain't America great?
19,000 people liked that tweet. Whew, man. You guys see the trailer for the latest movie, The Purge? You seen that? I guess it was a while ago, actually, now that I think about it, but don't know why that movie occurred to me just now, but good movie.
Well, the next thing you know, I'm trending on Twitter, which is never a good thing. And I'm being called a racist because some knuckleheads in the media allege that I'm using hate speech on Asians. Huh? Are you kidding?
No, I don't think they were. I wish I was one of them Chinamen. Then all the American corporations would bow down to my sinister communist whims. That sounds like a racist statement, dog. What? How was that even a little racist? What? Oh, my goodness.
It had nothing to do with ethnicity. And anyone with an IQ above stinkweed surely knows that.
Yeah, well, I got my IQ is firmly below stinkweed, so you're going to have to explain it to me how you going off on this tangent about how, like, China runs it all. It's a secret Chinese cabal. What really controls what everyone's doing. Like, you're going to have to kind of, like, get into me. You're going to have to kind of break down for me why that's not a problem, buddy. Because it sounds to me like it's a little bit up.
It's about hypocrisy and the duplicity of high-horsed globalist companies who look the other way while they make billion-dollar deals with China, but somehow pretend that Georgia is returning to racism and Jim Crow. It's so outrageous that even the Washington Post called Joe Biden out for lying. People were calling for me to...
Even the fucking communist rag, the Washington Post. Even the Washington Post, the most radical extremist leftist paper in the world, admitted that Joe Biden was lying. Joe Biden is to the left of Stalin. Here, let me show you. So here, you have capitalism. Beautiful, wonderful capitalism. And then you have socialism. Horrible, oppressive socialism. And then up here, you have communism. Brutal, despotic communism. And then, one level above even communism, Bidenism. That's right. Bidenism is more radical, more extreme, more despotic, more corrupt and evil than even the Stalinist regimes of the Soviet Union. Oh my God.
To be canceled and censored and demanding that I apologize. For what? Saying that it's hypocrisy for big companies to lie about the state of Georgia?
No one lied, okay? No one f***ing lied, all right? Even if you want to f***ing, like, there could be a disagreement, and really, like, we all know these corporations don't f***ing have any sort of genuine position. They're just doing the math. The corporations are just doing the math and asking themselves, which one of these is going to alienate less people likely to vote to buy our product? You know what I mean? Coca-Cola's like, who do we want buying our product? Old people who are going to die soon? No, we don't need the old fogey vote. They're all going to be dead. You know who we need drinking Coca-Cola? The youth. We need the youth to drink Coke. So where does the youth vote fall on this? Oh, they like it that way? All right, well, that's how Coke likes it too. Same thing with, like, Nike, all these other institutions, right? No one wants to pander to old people. No one wants to pander socially to conservatives because they're always on the way out. They're always about to be the generation that's dead. And then the generation that's down there, like the generation now that's like, we're so left wing and we're so pure and we're so this and that. They get to grow up and become the new conservatives. And their politics might not even change that much. But the generation that comes up below them is going to be even more crazy and radical in some way. Maybe it won't even be in the direction you think, but they're going to have some wacky-ass ideas that sound ridiculous to Gen Z. Like, when it gets to, like, you know, the next, like, 2 generations down the line, the Gen Zers are the fucking old fogies and shit. You know, it's going to be like, oh, my God, can you believe the younger generation wants to legalize space the gelatinous space cube marriage or whatever, and it's gonna be like, no, god damn it, people should not marry the gelatinous space cubes. It's wrong, it's immoral, it's sick. You know, and then boom. Then you become the new conservative because you're not down with people marrying gelatinous space cubes. Time has no meaning. Some people say time has no meaning. Or some people say that's too much time. Those people are idiots.
And try to bully the governor there, but then ignore the real abuses being conducted by the Communist Chinese Party?
Why? How do we get China in here? Like, think about the mental gymnastics. Like, this started off like we're talking about voting rights in Georgia, and somehow this motherfucker has pivoted all the way to like, these motherfucking American corporations in bed with China, y'all. So is the United States government. The United States government is in bed with China in some ways, and at odds with them in others.
I will not back down.
And it's not communist China, it's capitalist China. I don't care. They can call themselves communists till they're blue in the face, or red in the face, I guess. But they're not.
And I am so glad the governor of Georgia won't either.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. We got to stop allowing the loons of the left to destroy the country with lies. While Christian people are disparaged and called racist.
Boo.
We've got to stand for it and speak out for the truth. By the way, I'm not calling for a boycott of Coca-Cola or Delta or even the cowardly commissioner of Major League Baseball. I just call for people to stand up, speak up, and stop surrendering to the insanity of calling everything racist.
Calling everything. No one's calling everything racist, okay? No one's calling everything racist. People are calling the Georgia voter ID law racist. They're calling that racist, and I provided you with the rationale for why they call it racist. And I think it's a pretty strong one. So if you have a counter argument for that, go ahead and lay it out, but I don't think you do because there really isn't one. But be my guest. Type it out. Tippity type. Lay it all out in explicit detail. Why? Oh, it's so it's not racist. It's not racist. We know it is. All right? I'm sorry, that doesn't mean everything is racist. That doesn't mean you look at that. This microphone is racist. This VHS of The Legend of Grimace Island is racist. This banana that I'm going to shove in my ass later. This is a racist banana. Banana's so clearly racist. Look at him, he's eating a banana. What is he saying? Monkeys eat bananas? Is he comparing monkeys to black people? I think he might be about to do it. Obviously racist. Everything's racist. I love how you go from, hey, maybe this voter ID law has a racist component to, yeah, I guess everything's racist now. As if we're talking about some inconsequential thing, like someone just pointed at like an inconspicuous fire hydrant and was like, racism! Racism! We looked at a law that determines who is and who isn't allowed to vote.